Do you know yourself? I mean, do you really know yourself? Do you know and recognize when you need help? Do you have those people around you that's willing to lift you up, kind of tell you what you need when you need it? If any of those questions you're looking for answers, or maybe you don't have an answer, stay tuned. Our next guest will share her answers to those questions and so much more. Come on in, come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Am I Crazy with me, LaShasta. I hope your day is off to a wonderful start. And if it's not, hold tight. Our guest, Khaliah O, Guillory, is up next. Khaliah is a sleep expert. She is also the owner of Nap Bar. But more than anything else, she is a woman on a mission of making sure that her whole self is well and ready to be all that she can be and live her very best life. Stay tuned. Do you have a story to tell? Wait. We all have a story to tell. If you are ready to tell your story as it relates to your mental health and the journey, the struggle, the management, the awareness, the lack thereof, we want you at Am I Crazy with LaShasta. And what about sponsorship? Oh, thanks for asking. Because there's also the opportunity for sponsorship. Do you have a product? Do you have an event that you want to shout to the world? If so, check out our sponsorship. Same place as the guest forum. See you soon. We offer face-to-face and virtual counseling throughout the state of Texas. www.ichoosemecounseling.com. Thank you so much again for coming and joining us here at Am I Crazy? I'm super excited to have you here. I know we already kind of been talking offline and chit-chatting, but I really appreciate your willingness to be here and share your part of your mental health journey.
I'm just oozing with gratitude for even being considered to be on such an incredible platform. So thank you so much for having me.
Look, I mean, that social media is amazing for so many reasons. You know, I know people give it a bad rap sometimes, but just watching the things that you do in the community, how you've shown up, it intrigued me. And I know everybody has a story, and
yeah,
and you share your story so freely, and so I'm like, let me see, because people see us out on the front and don't understand the journey, the intentionality that it takes to stay in that position. So when would you say you first realized, like, hey, I got to get my mental health together?
So the biggest part was first time, it was two parts, right? 'Cause I'm an October Scorpio. I'm complex. I get it. I know it. It's cool. I'm cool with it. The first time was whenever I realized I had some anger issues, and it came off as I was a student athlete. I played basketball up through college, but right in that cusp of when I was transitioning into high school and into college, I realized it might not be a good idea to fuss out the referee. And I'm using the word fuss out nicely. That really ain't what happened, but we're going to say I fussed out the referee.
I'm going to stash that one. I'm going to put that one in my pocket.
Boom, right there. Yeah. And then things started to progress, and I found myself, getting kicked out of games because of my attitude and because of my temper, and I didn't want to behave that way. I wasn't raised that way. I didn't grow up in that type of household, so it was like, all right, we got to get this thing together. And then the pivotal moment was when my mother passed away. So she passed away from ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. She lost the battle back in 2002, literally months after I graduated from college, weeks after I celebrated my 22nd birthday, and about a week and a half right before Thanksgiving. So there was a lot going on in Q4 of 2002 for me, mentally, emotionally, even physically. It was a holistic battle. And so I lost my mom, I lost my best friend. I wasn't prepared for that. And then I noticed that my temper and my anger just started to get even worse because it was trauma. It was trauma induced. And I'll never forget. I had an altercation or argument with a friend, and the cops were called. I mean, it was, and in that moment, nothing happened per se, right? But it was just like the thought of what could have happened. The thought of, I could have walked away from this with a record. I could have been arrested. I could have, like, there was or it could have turned violent.
Right.
I could have not walked
away. That part.
I could have lost my life, you know? And so, like, in that moment, it was like, okay, we got to switch this thing around. And so, you know, shortly thereafter, my sister, my big sister, flew down from Philadelphia. I sat on the couch a year after our mother had passed away, and I just went dark. I ate, I slept, and I watched TV. That was it. I gained 50 pounds. And as she said, enough was enough. Flew down, got me off the couch, threw me in the shower and said, Mom sacrificed way too much for you to play this small. Get it together. And in that moment, the next day, I found myself in therapy. I was just looking around like, what is this? Like, what this? Like, I was like, I don't want to be here. I want to be on the couch. I want to go eat my ice cream and my donuts and order my hot wings. Like, I want to do all my things. And then in that moment, I realized you're exactly where you need to be to really, truly start to heal. Because back then, I didn't know what healing meant. I didn't know what it truly meant to be healed or go through healing. But I needed it so desperately. I'm still in it because it's an ongoing process.
That part, exactly. So shouts out to the big sister who knew to go ahead and snatch you up one time. Like, enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
You know, and to know where to take you next. Because let's be honest, in our community, it's only a handful of us that know back then about therapy and seeing counselors. Most folks would have took you to the pastor.
Right.
And they would have said, oh, she in a better place now, you know. And don't get me wrong, I love Jesus. I love all of those things. But we can have Jesus and a therapist too.
Absolutely.
You know, and so it's good that she was in a position to know what you needed next, and then that you were willing. Because let's just be honest, you have to have a willing participant for therapy to work.
I would say I went. I don't know if I was willing at first. Like, it was almost like it was a couple of sessions in, I realized, like, all right, I actually might be able to get something out of this.
Gotcha. But you showed up.
I showed up.
You were willing to go sit. You hadn't bought in yet.
I hadn't bought in, but I knew I needed to do something different.
That's it. So that's good. So when we look at that therapeutic process, and like you said, you're still there, you still check in, what was it like to go through the therapeutic process while starting your young adult life at the same time? Because you just graduated college. Like you said, it's a year later.
Literally.
How was that with work and making relationships work and building networks? Because, I mean, you wanted to go 2 plugs in Houston, let's just be honest.
What? You better stop gassing me.
No, no gas needed. So that's something that takes time.
It does. It does.
So how did that start to cultivate back then? Because you had to start back then. Because, I mean, we don't ask your age on the paper, but I know it ain't been 40 years or nothing like that since 22.
Right.
So how does that work? Because a lot of times we get kind of preoccupied with our struggle and we don't advance. But it sounds like, and I don't know your full story, that's why I'm asking, it sounds like that while you were struggling, you were advancing at the same time.
And I had no idea that I was. That's the beauty of therapy. It's like you really are in your work and doing your work, and you don't realize, you're like, oh, this is not good. I'm in the muck of it all. Like, nothing's happening. I still feel the same way. And then you have that aha moment. You turn a corner, or the therapist says something where it just connects all the dots for you in your head. You know, those are the moments that I live for, and those are the moments that keep me going back. It's not the everyday. Like, every day I'll get something, or every session I'll get something from my therapist. And I have a holistic team that keeps all this together, right? I've got a manifestation coach that helps me manifest and make sure that I'm grounded. I have, someone who keeps my chakras aligned so that, my third eye is open, my root is flowing. Like, I need to be grounded. And I have my therapist, who is a legit therapist. She will call me out in a heartbeat because she knows me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And she knows my story. So a lot of people think, like, oh my God, like, you're so happy all the time. And how do you, well, I have a team. and I subscribed to my team. But if we go back to when I was the tender age of 22, I had no idea what was going on, but I knew I wanted something different for my life, and I had to get connected to my why. And back then, my why looks different than it does now at 41, right? Like my why in 22 was like, I'm just trying to survive the next day.
It's like just agree to work. Like.
And then for me, it's something that also that was a byproduct of therapy. Is I realized that I majored in communications in college. I had an internship scheduled, lined up, that I had already taken, and the job was offered to me from the internship in Orlando, but I had to bypass it because my mother was dying. And so I decided, okay, I'm gonna forego this. I'm gonna go work in retail so I can be in Texas and be closer to my mother. And I thought, like, hey, I'm gonna kill it as an on-air personality. And then life dealt me a different set of cards. And then I started doing this retail job, and I wasn't happy. I just knew, I felt like, man, there's got to be something else out here for me. And then therapy helped me also realize, like, well, why are you even doing it? Why are you in these relationships with people who you don't want to be in a relationship with? Like, why are you so concerned about everybody else's feelings? What about yours? It's not selfish to put your oxygen mask on first, because I have to be able to pour from a full cup.
That's it. Because people like to say you can't pour from an empty glass. And I'm like, I'm going to challenge you on that. Yeah. You know, I'll use something else when we off air. But I'm like, I'm going to challenge you on that. Because you can pour something from an empty glass. Air, which will give somebody gas, which means they will have dis-ease. Come on. You know, so it's like, don't tell me you can't. Because plenty of people walking around here pouring air and giving folks gas.
See, this part, that part right there.
Like, oh, it's uncomfortable. Yes, because somebody is not well in this relationship.
Right.
You know, so I want to rewind, because you talked about your team. And a lot of times people feel like they have to pick one over the other. And
I don't believe in this or that. I believe in all.
That's it. And so spending a little time, because I've gone to a Reiki doctor before, and I'm a therapist, and I see my therapist. You know, I have a business coach that / life coach that will snatch my edges real quick. You know, I'll be like, really? She'd be like, is that a shiny ball or what? I'm like,
squirrel.
Right, exactly. So can you just take a few minutes and kind of explain a little bit more about how they interact and they intermingle in your life, so people understand they don't have to say, oh, if I go to a Reiki specialist, I can't see a therapist, or I don't need a therapist because my chakra's good, then everything good, when we know that's not necessarily the case.
Absolutely. And I'm a firm believer. My boy said this on a podcast a while ago. Khaliah O said, exposure expands your expectations. And for me, I wanted to expose myself to a multitude of people who can help me expand my expectations. And so let's just start with Elisa Boking, right? That's my therapist. I see her once a month, sometimes more if need be. But you know, when it's a tune up, it's once a month. When there's something going on, hey, let's book you for the next time.
Can you get me in? And Elisa is the bomb.
She's everything.
Everything. Okay.
Everything.
Look, I'm like, oh, that's good. On that sex thing, can I
I
like that 5 times?
And then she hits me, and I'll be scrolling, and I'll see something, a post of hers. I'm like, ooh. Put the phone down. Let me sit in that and meditate on it, because it's just, she has a way of communicating, a way that it makes it it's palatable. It's easy for you to consume. So it starts with her, and you know, she takes care of this, and she also takes care of this, and the soul as well. And so she makes sure that all three are all aligned. Everything is operating where it's supposed to be. The things that I can't tell, that I'm afraid to tell myself when I'm looking in the mirror, I can tell Elisa. And I know it won't be any judgment. I know she's going to give me some true advice, or it's going to come from a place like, well, hey, remember when you were telling me about how, you know, when you found out that you were fathered as you were conceived as a love child, and your father was married and had a whole nother family, and you found this out when you were 37 years old by not even your parents, but by like a sibling that you just really kind of like got connected to. She's like, oh, you got to go back and have that conversation with 8-year-old KG and tell her it's okay. And you're going to hold her hand, and you're going to bring her along, and you're not going to leave her in the dark because you're afraid of rejection, and you're afraid of abandonment. You're afraid of these things that really truly happen to you. And here's why.
Look. Be like, slay past the collection plate. Look, I know I'm already paying you, but what a tip jar, right? Yeah, absolutely. Great. So then you're there, and then when you go see your manifestation coach, your Reiki, do you call him a Reiki doctor?
I call her a healer.
Okay.
Yeah. So
because mine has she's a psychologist, so she has a PhD in psychology. So I'm like, yeah, she's my Reiki doctor. I'm gonna give you both of them.
Yeah, it's combined, right? Mm-hmm. So my healer is Elizabeth. She's out in Florida, and I meet with her every 3 weeks, and she just makes sure I'm aligned. She makes sure that all my alignment is working the way it's supposed to, that I'm not looking over here when I should be focused on this, and making sure that from a holistic approach that I'm well, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, like all the these. And it's, for me, it's not just wealthy. Like, I'm not chasing WEALTHY. I'm chasing WELLTHY. Like,
okay, come on now.
All of me, I gotta be well.
That's it. Cause
period.
What's the money and fame and property if you out your mind? That's what I tell people.
Yeah.
Go get your mental health checkup. Cause what does it matter if you have 20/20 vision, straight white teeth if you out your mind and don't know to brush them?
Hey,
like
it doesn't even matter at that point.
If you sitting on the couch in the dark,
it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But it matters for me, and that's the reason why I take the time, because for me, 2020 showed me that I wasn't really operating in self-care. Like I talked about self-care, but the way I was behaving with myself and exposing myself to myself, I needed to have radical self-love. And it wasn't just I'm going to get my nails done. Like, I'm really going to nourish and love on myself. I'm going to take myself out on dates, and making sure I'm aligned, and with my chakra healing with Elizabeth, it makes me make sure I'm nourishing on myself. And she builds upon what I got from Elisa. And then when I go and see Andrea Mosley, who's my manifestation queen, she's like, all right, what do you want? Like, what do you desire? Like, deep down in your heart, what do you want? Not just the material stuff. Like, we talk about that too. I'm like, oh, I want a G5 truck, man. I want Tri-Love. I want an infinity pool. Like, I can run through all that. I want good health for my family. I want Nap Bar to be in airports all across the entire world, not just the country, but the world. And she makes me sit there and describe what it looks like. So I'm visualizing all these things, because when it happens, even when things happen for me now, I was featured in Forbes. People were like, why aren't you that excited? I was like, because I visualized it.
I saw it already.
I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong, but I saw it already. Like, I held space and knew that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time.
Right.
It's not my will. It's their will.
That's it. So we're going to take a quick break. When we return, let's get more information on the Nap Bar. Hey. Who's ready to sleep? We'll be right back. Do you have a story to tell? Wait. We all have a story to tell. If you are ready to tell your story as it relates to your mental health and the journey, the struggle, the management, the awareness, the lack thereof, we want you at Am I Crazy with LaShasta Bell. And what about sponsorship? Oh, thanks for asking. Because there's also the opportunity for sponsorship. Do you have a product? Do you have an event that you want to shout to the world? If so, check out our sponsorship. Same place as the guest forum. See you soon. All right, we are back. So, Nap Bar.
Hey.
It's here right now. And look, I got my nap box too. Let me tell you.
Tell me about it.
Look, that spray for the pillow. I was like, and the I've never worn what you call it?
Eye mask.
See, eye mask. I can't even find the words. I'd be like, where my eye mask at? Don't set an alarm and watch it be 10 o'clock a.m. when you wake up. I'm like, oh, it's dark. Because you don't realize
just little things.
The little things are how much light is still in a dark room. So how did Nap Bar come about? Like, where did it come from?
So I was my then wife, my now ex-wife. We were carpooling into the city. We lived out into the burbs, and we both had side hustles. And when we had to venture out into the city, we would carpool. And I have been an avid napper my entire life. When I say avid napper, I was a kid in kindergarten when the teacher was like, all right, go get your red and blue mat. It's time to lay down. I was a kid, grabbed my mat. I was in the corner. I was out. She did not have to bug me or worry with me, because I knew what I needed to do. And I just continued to nap throughout high school. As I mentioned, I played basketball in college. And even in corporate America, I was napping in my car. I was napping in unused conference rooms, at my desk, When I started to travel, I was napping in the blue uncomfortable chairs in the airport. And I was like, man, this is crazy. So we were carpooling in. I looked at my watch. I was like, it's 1:00. I normally would take my nap right now in the car. It'd be cool. But you in the car, like, what am I going to do? She's like, well, Google naps in Houston. It's Houston. There's got to be a place for you to go and take a midday snooze. And I was like, all right, you're right. So 60 seconds later, I looked, I was like, can you believe Houston doesn't have said place? And we're like the innovation capital of the world. She was like, you should create it. And I was like, stop playing. No one's going to pay me to nap. Like, stop it. Like, and I'm not going to leave this good old cushy C-level executive position that I've been at this company for 14 plus years. Stop it. That's a pipe dream, right? So then that night, I couldn't sleep. I was tossing and turning because I couldn't stop my brain from thinking about, like, what if this is a possibility? Like, go explore. So I got up, went in the office, and ran across this stat from NASA. And it said that they conducted a study on sleepy military pilots and astronauts and found that a 26-minute nap increased their productivity by up to 34% and their alertness by 54%. I was like, oh, I've been doing it right this whole time. That's why.
That's why I'm brilliant.
So then I was like, okay, so this is backed by NASA. NASA said this. So I just started doing more research. So the next day I went to Facebook. I did a poll. I said, all right, friends, how many of you are taking naps? 99.9% of them said I am. I said, okay, cool. Well, if there was a safe haven with rest sanctuaries where you can nap on site in your corporate office or go around the corner and nap, would you? It's like, yes. I was like, okay. How much do you pay for said rest at said safe haven? And I gave them multiple choice. At this point, I'm a Delta, so there was like a group. Yay! Hey, I forgot. Hey, come on. It's the MITS, the worldwide, the Facebook group. It's like 70,000 people in there. I was like, oh, this is it. So I sent the survey there. They helped me identify my avatar, the targeted household of income, the people who have disposable income, how much they would pay for the nap. What else do you want at Nap Bar? You want aromatherapy? That's how we got to the vegan pillow mist.
Yes.
Because I didn't create Nap Bar based on what Khaliah O Guillory wanted. I based it on what the masses wanted, because our social impact is to legitly solve a 411 billion, I'm saying billion with a B, $1 billion U.S. economic loss due to sleep deprivation. Because we're walking around zombies.
That's it.
And we're in this culture where people, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Team no sleep. That's slave mentality.
Okay.
Because when we really think about it, one of my whys for Nap Bar said I created Nap Bar because my ancestors was told when they could go and rest. I created something on demand when we could rest when we want.
Oh, look, come on now.
So,
because I'm asleep right now.
I'm
gonna sleep a good 8 hours a night, 8+.
Yes.
And when COVID hit, I'm like, I'll give myself 9. I'm not starting my day until 10 o'clock.
You might as well. Why not?
Because you need it. Your brain needs
your
it.
body needs it. You have to repair.
Yeah,
you have to allow those toxins to wash out of your body, and that happens when you go to sleep, when you lay down at night.
Look, memories are recovered. What you learn,
you can't download none of that whenever you're walking the walking zombie. Like, come on,
right? And I tell people all the time, because that's one of our common threads is the love of sleep. And when I'm speaking, I'm like, some of you wake up on 10 already, and you wonder why, because you only got 5 hours of sleep. So literally you didn't give your brain the opportunity to recover from being pissed off yesterday. Pretty much. I mean, look, it is what it is. My words are my words.
You're speaking it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't. So that's why you woke up on 10, because your brain wasn't done. But if you would have given yourself 3 more hours, you probably would have woke up on like 2 or 3. You would have been a little heated.
You would have a little bit edgy.
Yeah, but you'd be like, you know what? Today's a new day.
Right. Yep. I'm going to let yesterday be a day.
That's it. And so the Nap Bar, such an amazing idea. I remember when I first heard about it, and I'm like, say what? Who finna go sleep? And so it was just so creative. I mean, to this day, I'm still like, wow, that's a dope idea.
Thank you.
But then COVID happens.
Oh, good old COVID, right? COVID was a blessing and a curse.
Okay.
Curse because we were 9 months old. We were inside of the Guillory Mall, one of the largest malls in the entire country, entire world, really. And COVID came around. And so right before COVID, we were pivoting to South by Southwest. We had already been scheduled to provide rest and naps for the artists in the VIP Artist Lounge before they took the stage. They were going to take a nap, boom, hit the stage.
Beautiful.
Still going to happen in 2022, but that was all a strategic plan in 2020. So the week before the shutdown, we found out that South by Southwest was going to be canceled. And I was like, oh, I don't know what this is going to look like. And then something in me was like, it's not going to be fast. Like, you're going to need to figure some other things out. 9 months old, I had just recently retired from my cushy corporate job, not even a year later. So I'm sitting there like, if I still would have been in corporate America, I would have been an essential employee. I would have been good. What did I do to myself? I literally fell into the sunken place, got depressed, but I said, you know what? Sometimes my depression helps me find the light. Like, my darkness helps me find the light because it makes me stop. So I took a 30-day hiatus from social media. I literally unplugged from it all, and I just got quiet, and I fasted. I thought about what was important to me, and I reminded myself, like, God actually reminded me of this. Well, I gave you the vision of this, so surely it's going to be well. And I was like, oh, thank you for that reminder. Like, it just slapped me all around.
Look.
And then from there, we were able to pivot and transform and transition and do all the things. We're consistently doing those things right now. And it was fine. And I think the biggest why I say COVID was a blessing is because it forced me to be still. It forced me to realize that I wasn't really loving myself the way I thought I was. Like, radical self-love is completely different than self-love. The way you allow for other people to treat you and interact with you and speak to you, that's where you really realize, like, is this self-love or am I just want people to be around because I'm lonely or I'm fear of rejection? Like, all that stuff came up. And I had to deal with it because I was like, oh, no, what's this about? Lisa and I dealt with this in 2019. What is this resurfacing now?
Yeah, because it will
it's
come back up.
It's a whole nother realm.
Yep, that's it. And that's what we talk about, it being layered. So you come in feeling one way and you peel back the layers like, okay, I'm good. I'm a fresh banana. Then it's like, wait, hold on. No. Let's
one more.
We got one more.
Go one more deeper.
Yeah, that's it. But that's a sign of the growth.
Absolutely. But it's unfortunate that COVID came and it cost people's lives. But I'm fortunate to it that it shut the world down and I was able to connect with humans like I've never connected before. Like, it's been amazing. I FaceTime my sister the most now than I ever did in the past 10 years.
That's the same way with me and my mom. I'm like, and we even got so bold, and me, my mom, and my sister hopped on a FaceTime all together.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so I agree. It did allow us to slow down. People who chose to do some introspection. Some who didn't choose to had to anyway because they had to get quiet in order to get away from all the other people in the house.
Totally.
You know, and so when you say your depression brings light, that's amazing. That means that you have to sit in it long enough. You have to acknowledge that it's there.
That part. So for me, it's because some people are like, well, wait a minute, like, aren't we supposed to run from it? Well, for me, in my learnings, because keep in mind, I've been in this therapy game for 20-something years now, on and off, consistently the past couple of years. When I sit in my depression and I sit in my darkness, I'm not sitting there for a month. I'm not sleeping a day away. Like, I give myself 24 hours to embrace it, and then I exhale it out. And I get very clear and with intentions on, this moment showed me this, and now I need to go and create that.
Yes. Oh, that is so great. I want to ask you what's one thing you want to leave with the people, but you didn't left so many things. Like, it's a breadcrumb, like a trail. But
I can give you a bonus. You want a bonus?
Look, absolutely, the people want a bonus. I want the bonus too. Let me get my tea. So if it's one thing that you could leave with our audience, what would it be?
It's my motto. Well, actually, I might have two. But the first one is protect your creative energy, right? So stop sharing your vision with folks who don't have the capacity to understand your greatness. And that could be with going to therapy. That could be starting a new business. That could be ending a relationship. Like, all that is connected to your mental health. And the last one is stop duplicating mediocrity when you can borrow genius. So, like,
You gonna make me slide out my seat like I'm on 5 Heartbeats. That's my move. Look,
you baby doll.
baby doll on the front row. Sorry, go ahead.
But that, you know, it helps because the genius is the therapist. So I can sit at your feet and learn from you, and you help me connect these dots so that I don't have to go out into the world and continuously be in this cycle of duplicating mediocrity.
That's good. Well, we appreciate you so much for coming on. You have a seat on our couch anytime, any season that you want to come back and drop gems. We are open for it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Our guest today shared so many gems. I hope that you were really able to take in all that she shared as it relates to her holistic approach to her life, the consistency of therapy, having the right people around you. One thing I want to take a moment to highlight is sleep. We spent a little time talking about it, and of course, Nap Bar is amazing. Make sure you check it out. But understanding your sleep hygiene, and sleep hygiene is just like your personal hygiene. Like, you know when you need to take care of your body, when it smells great, when it's not smelling great. Take a moment and evaluate your sleep hygiene. How many hours of sleep are you getting a night? What is the quality of your sleep? If you are struggling with your sleep, consider your sleep routine. What are you doing leading up to bed? What are you doing once you're in bed? All of those things are significant and will either contribute to your sleep or take away from your sleep. So I want to challenge you for the next couple of weeks. Try doing the same thing every night around the same time. Wake up around the same time and start to cultivate your sleep hygiene and sleep routine, and you will be able to see an improvement in your energy, your memory, your ability to focus, your irritability, your patience. All of those things improve and or decrease when your sleep is on point. So until next time, go to bed.